Hello, thank you very much indeed. Thank you. And let me begin by saying thank you. Yeah, you can sit down now. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Thank you, because I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you. Or at the most, I think I'd just be lying in bed. So I have to begin by saying that. Oh, thanks ever so much. So what I'm going to do is tell you what happened to me in 2020 and how physiotherapists were involved in ways sometimes that you may have found unexpected yourselves. I will talk about you collectively as if you looked after me, so just bear with me on that. All right, so it'll be a narrative, and it's how I've written it down, and I will, in a sense, act it out for you. In March 2020, you can't see a doctor, you can't go to A&E, you can't get tested. All you can do is ring a paramedic. I ring a paramedic. He tells me to breathe down the phone. I breathe. He listens. He asks me if I felt worse than yesterday. I say no. He says, "You're okay then." I tweet on March the 27th, day 12 of being ill. The year's seasons roll by in a night. Sweats, freezes, sweats, freezes. I wonder whose mouth I have. I don't remember it as made of sandpaper. Water is as good as ever. In the spare room at home, I say to Emma, that's my wife, it feels like I can't get enough air. There isn't enough air. I can't catch up, I say. I get so ill, Emma calls our friend and neighbour who's a doctor. She comes over with an oximeter. I've never seen one of these before. Emma puts it on my finger. 58, Emma says. Doctor says, "Is that the pulse?" Emma says, "No, the pulse is 115. Doctor writes later that she had never seen anyone with 58 who was still conscious. Emma drives me to A&E. Elsie, our daughter, in the back. I'm panting. It's night. The road is empty. I go in. I don't have time to turn around. They're gone. A doctor is standing by my bed asking me if I will sign a piece of paper which will allow them to put me to sleep and pump air into my lungs. Will I wake up, I say? There's a 50-50 chance, he says. If I say no, I say, 0, he says. I sign. The nurses and volunteers and physiotherapists in my intensive care ward keep a kind of journal about my stay there. They say it's my patient diary, or as I call it, my very patient diary. On the cover, it says this diary can be completed by relatives, friends, nurses, doctors, and allied health professionals to record the patient's daily events. The diary may help with the patient's post-critical care recovery by providing them with information and insight into a time when they were not aware. April the 9th, dear Michael, we are your ITU helpers today. You're doing fantastically well and fighting hard. You still have a breathing tube, but you're doing well. Keep fighting. LSC and Lizzie, physiotherapists. April the 10th. Hi, Michael. I'm your helper this evening. Your vitals are slowly improving. I've never quite found out what my vitals are. I've assumed they're my testicles, but I'm not absolutely sure. Including your temperature. We've wrapped you in a heated blanket and reposition you regularly to improve your lung perfusion. You're sleeping peacefully at the moment, monitored and controlled by the ventilator. We've still got another 8 hours together, but so far, so good. Jenny, physio by day, ITC helper by night. Dan, who is a speech and language therapist, volunteers to work on my intensive care ward, keeps his own diary. He changes our names. He calls me Mr. Jacobs. He writes, I said a few Hail Marys over Mr. Jacobs, even though I know he's Jewish. I think, well, that's a good idea. It covers all the bases, doesn't it? Mind you, next day, Dan writes, came in, Mr. Jacobs still alive. I think you must have thought that when you went home the night before that Mr. Jacobs was going to cop it. Poor Mr. Jacobs. April the 17th, dear Michael, my name is Beth, and I've been the nurse looking after you overnight. I normally work at Great Ormond Street Hospital looking after children, but have been moved here to help look after adults. I call you guys big children. You've done really well overnight. You're starting to move little bits. Not quite sure which little bits, but which is excellent. I hope you continue this great progress. You've got this. Looking forward to meeting you when you woke up. You wrote my favorite book, We're Going on a Bear Hunt. All the best, Beth. Never heard of it. April the 14th. Dear Michael, you required a ventilator to take over your breathing due to your further deterioration. The ICU team had to prone you, meaning you had to lie on your belly to help improve your oxygenation. This procedure required 7 people to reposition you safely. We're hoping to see you improving every day. Take one day at a time. You'll get there soon. All the best, Michael. Margie, ICU nurse. April 24. Hello, Michael. I've been asking you to blink and squeeze my hand to communicate, and you've been diligently obliging. I think it's the only time in my life that someone has said that I've been diligently obliging. Please send your NHS anniversary poem to Boris Johnson. Best of luck, Kajal Doshi, physio, ICU helper. April 26th. Hey, Michael, today has been a busy day for you. Lots of doctors and nurses have been caring for you. You've been well cared for. You've been restless at times, but I've been there to hold your hand. Alison, physiotherapist. April 29th. Good afternoon, Michael. It's Claire, the physio again. I haven't quoted her before. You must be sick of me talking to you today. We've been chatting a lot, keeping you stimulated so your blood pressure rises. You're turning your head when I'm talking to you as well. Great stuff. Keep going. You've got this. Claire. April 29, night shift. You still have a breathing tube going into your throat, meaning you aren't able to speak. So unfortunately for you, it's mostly me chatting away to you. I seem to get a response when I mentioned that you supported Arsenal, judging from your pictures, but you didn't seem impressed when I told you that I was a Derby County fan. Keep going, keep fighting, and keep being so strong. Lizzie, kiss, kiss, physio. Last night, as I was going to bed, I wondered whether I'd put that in my folder, and so I rushed back downstairs, went through the folder, and saw that I'd got it. I thought, oh, that's good, because I remember Lizzie was a physiotherapist, and I went to bed. This morning, I got on the bus in Muswell Hill, North London, where I live, and I got on the bus, and I'm sitting there, and there was somebody just to my left, and she said, Michael? And I said, yes. And she said, I'm the person I'm the Derby County fan who is a physio called Lizzie. My name's Lizzie, she said, and you weren't very impressed. And I said, no, I'm not surprised I wasn't very impressed, really, because I thought it was a joke, I said, because I was sedated. I was in an induced coma. And she said, well, you did sort of turn away like that. So, yeah, so I said, amazing. Where are you going now? And she said, well, I'm going to the Whittington. I'm going in. And she said, how are you? I said, I'm fine. I can't really see out of this eye because I had blood clots in my brain, and I can't hear with that ear. As I say to children, I can't see with my ear and can't hear with my eye. And one kid said, well, you wouldn't, would you? Anyway, and I said, yeah, I kind of creak a bit. And she said, oh, well, anytime, just come to the Whittington. We'll be there. Thank you, Alison. May the 3rd overnight, your blood pressure decided that it fancied being a yo-yo. And we've had to do a good amount of deep suctioning via your trachea. I'm really sorry that this is so unpleasant. It's so important to get that mucus out of your lungs. I'm sorry I can't write more. With the pandemic, each nurse has multiple patients, but keep fighting. You'll go home soon. Sarah, May the 7th. Dear Michael, happy birthday. It's been so lovely to help look after you today on your birthday. You've been popular today. FaceTime calls from your family and a birthday card. You were also treated to a rendition of Happy Birthday from about 15 ICU staff around your bedside, and a round of applause from staff and one of the other patients. Get well soon. Sophie, physiotherapist. Monique, ITU nurse. Emma, my wife, emailed to the family, May the 15th. Hi all, Michael's been calmer, more settled, has been off all sedation for the last few days. He is responding to some commands with hand squeezing, arm movements, and has some improved function in his muscles, which are obviously very weakened after so long. They think he may have some nerve damage, and I don't know if this could be permanent or temporary and what the cause is. He's still on the antibiotics for the cavitating pneumonia. Nice one. All love for now. Emma, kiss. Night shift. Dear Michael, it's Natasha again. Although you can't voice yet because of the cuffed trachea tube, You have been able to indicate yes or no, and with a combination of guesswork and your expressive non-verbal communication skills, no idea what that is, you're able to ask some questions and make comments. There have been moments when you've been distressed and needed lots of reassurance. This is completely understandable. Being in ITU under the current circumstances can be incredibly disorienting and traumatic. I wish you safely home soon. Natasha. Emma, email to the family. May 17th. Hi all. At short notice today, the hospital allowed me to visit Mick. That's me. They wheeled his bed out onto the 4th floor where there's a great view of London so I could sit with him. And I played him all the little messages you recorded for him, and he definitely responded to them. He also now has had a negative COVID test. Bloody hurrah. All love, Emma, kiss. Hi, Michael. May the 18th. You've been trying to tell us a few things, but we haven't been able to understand, and that's been very frustrating for you. But you've told us you're comfortable, and you've stayed positive in spite of it all. Keep fighting. It'll all be worth it. Dan, same one again, speech and language therapist. May 21. Dear Michael, talking to you this evening, you're expressing how you've had to relearn many things as you recover from your illness. This is true, but remember to give yourself the time to do this. You'll get stronger day by day. Be patient if you can. We will help you as you continue on your journey of recovery. So pleased to be able to talk with you and hear your voice. Best wishes, Louise. May 22, email from Emma. Hi all. I'm very happy to say that Michael is moving out of ICU tonight. He's talking, still confused, delirium at times, and he's trying to piece it all together, obviously, but slowly becoming more Mick-like. I'm going to the hospital in a bit to deliver him some comfy bedclothes, a soft blanket, his own toiletries. He will have been in hospital 8 weeks tomorrow and has spent 47 days in ICU. Look forward to a glass of wine later. Love to all, Emma, kiss. After the coma, they put me in a geriatric ward. I suppose they think I might be terminal. One nurse must think I'm a bit sprightly. She says, what are you in here for? I said, I don't know. And if I don't know and you don't know, then we're both in trouble, aren't we? A nurse stands by my bed and says, you're on puree. It says so over your bed. What do you want? And I say, what have you got? And she says, cottage pie. So she goes out, she comes back, she says, can you feed yourself? And I said, no. So she feeds me the pureed cottage pie with a spoon. And I say, it tastes fantastic. I don't think she believes me. I don't suppose many people have said that her pureed cottage pie is fantastic. I say, thank you for that, and thank you for feeding me. And she says, yeah, well, that's my job. One nurse says, you were in intensive care. And I think she means I was cared for intensively. Another nurse says, you were ventilated, and I think she means that they kept the windows open. Another nurse says, you were intubated, and I think she means I was incubated, because I was very cold. So I don't know that I've been in a coma for 40 days. The consultant says that when they took me off the drugs that were keeping me asleep, I didn't wake up, so they got Emma to come in, as you've heard. She held my hand, played recordings of the kids in my ear, and I waved my arm, he says. Then they wheeled me back into the lift, and the consultant says she was the game changer. After that, he says, I didn't stop talking. Not like me at all. Our 4 people now come to my bed and lift me up. They were physios and nurses. Came to bed so that I could stand, and I shake all over. I look down and see my legs, and they're my father's legs when he was dying. A psychologist comes, he says, we filled you up with mind-changing drugs. You may have frightening hallucinations. I said, I dream I'm at a German Christmas party. I keep dreaming it. I can't move. Then they throw berries in the air and they explode. Boom. And then we all sing, Stille Nacht, Heilige Nacht. He says. In the geriatric ward, I shrink down to a body that they test. Bits of a body they test, a body in bits, eye, toe, ear, ribs, tongue, tailbone, eye, toe, ear, ribs, skin, lips, ribs, eye. That's what I am, a body in bits. One night on the phone in the geriatric ward, I say to Emma that when I come home, I'd better live upstairs so that I can crawl to the loo. I don't think I'll be able to go up and down the stairs. A month later, when I get home, I see that we have a downstairs loo. I had forgotten we had a downstairs loo. Another night, I lie in bed trying to remember my shoes. I don't know what shoes I've got. I don't know what shoes I've got at home. I could remember my Crocs. Big surprise. I couldn't remember what shoes I had at home. I don't tell Emma that because I feel ashamed. And one night I looked down at the bottom of the bed at my big toes. The nails have come off, and there's just dried blood. Oh yes, that's what's happening with COVID, they say. Sticky blood fills the capillaries, they burst, and bits of the toes die. We call them COVID toes. Your hands speak. Touch is a language. Each palm, each fingertip is a line from your stories. I get what they each say. This hand is in a hurry. This hand hesitates. These hands are worried. They catch me as I slope sideways. This hand knows a lot. It hunts for the lumps where previous jabs filled me with blood thinner. This hand hunts for bed sores. It spreads Vaseline and kindness. After you've taken my blood pressure and you've clipped the oximeter on my finger to find out if I'm taking up oxygen, you stand at the end of my bed and stare at me. I ask you why. You say you're doing my obs. What is this, I say. We look at you to find out how you are, you say. Well, what do you write down, I say. What we see, you say. Oh, I'd like to look at that one day, I say. Now that I've been in for weeks, there must be yards and yards of obs. I wonder what they say, things like, he could do with a haircut. Or, he looks less dead today. The consultant says we didn't know if you were brain dead or not, Michael. I said, well, you didn't tell me that at the time. He said, well, there wasn't any point. We thought you were brain dead. The consultant says you've got 3 blood clots in your pulmonary artery. I say, should I worry? He says, oh, you'll probably digest them. I think of clots like scabs. On camping holidays, me and my friend Mark used to eat our scabs. Maybe it'll be something like that. We think we know who we are. There's the mind, and there's seeing our body and feeling it as it does its bodily things. Then you get ill, and doctors and nurses start reading stuff inside you, liver, kidneys, spinal column. You knew they were there, but you couldn't read them. I go to a rehab hospital. I can't stand up. I can't walk. The physiotherapists and occupational therapists tell me that they'll get me walking in 3 weeks. I don't believe them. At the rehab hospital on the first day, a guy who's been in the Greek army comes to my bedside, claps his hands together and says, 1, 2, 3, let's go. And I say, go where? I can't move. I have a dream. I'm in a place where I can't see or hear. I can't feel what I'm touching. I can't taste my tongue. There's a field of bodies. We stare with eyes that can't see. I'm under bodies, but I tug on legs and heads and get free. I look back and see 10,000 elbows, hips and knees. They belong to people, and I don't know why I'm not one of them. I learnt to walk when I was 1. I learnt to walk when I was 17 after a car accident. I'm learning to walk again. Now I'm 74. 3 times. Seems a bit excessive. At the rehab hospital, the occupational therapist or the physiotherapist says, throw the balloon to me. I try. It's too heavy. She says, every time you stand up, say, hands behind, nose over toes. I do it. Hands behind, nose over toes. It works. I remember it. Hands behind, nose over toes. Hands behind, nose over toes. Never forgotten it. Oh, they've been worried about my low blood pressure, but they've brought me the Daily Mail, so it'll be fine in just a moment. A therapist comes to my bed and says, you had a tracheostomy, so you have to be careful about what you eat, Michael. You can't eat raisins, she says. But some days that's all I eat, I say. I tell children in schools, my name is Michael Raisin. You can't eat raisins anymore, she says. They say your voice is very feeble. You need voice therapy. After all that time in a coma, your diaphragm's forgotten how to work. They say I have to sing down a plastic straw so that it blows bubbles and then trill through my lips. I do a lot of that. And now my diaphragm works. At the rehab hospital, one guy says he's going to bunk off going to the gym that afternoon. I lie in bed, wondering, what is he bunking off from? Is he bunking off from himself? They give me a stick. I call it Sticky McStick. It helps me walk. I love Sticky McStick. But then a physiotherapist says that I've become stick reliant. So I have to throw away Sticky McStick. The first time I walk to the toilet without Sticky McStick, I sing Search for the Hero Inside Yourself to get me there. I sit on the loo and think, I wonder how many people have sung Search for the Hero Inside Yourself to get themselves to a loo. Yes, occupational therapists and physiotherapists have helped me to help myself. It wasn't their job to train me. They taught me how to own my own body, how to listen to it, how to learn from it, how to work it so that it can work. I was bad. I took a wrong turning in life. I got old. I didn't mean to get old. Perhaps someone led me astray. Perhaps I was weak. I got into bad ways and I kept doing it, kept on and on being old. I'll always be grateful to people who saw a bit of good in me in spite of everything. I'm glad to have been given a second chance. I'm trying not to be old now, but it's hard. I get tempted. I go home, and a few days later, 2 physiotherapists come over and sit on the sofa. They ask me, what are your long-term objectives? I thought, have I got any of them? I wondered, have I ever had long-term objectives? I don't think so. What are your long-term objectives right now, they say? To be able to walk to the end of the street, go to the Jewish deli, remember what I went there for, and bring it back home all by myself. That would be good, I think. Yes, they say. Anything else? Live for a bit more. And come to think of it, I've never bothered to make pickled cucumbers. No, I just buy them. But my mother, she made lovely pickled cucumbers. I would like to try that one day. You're doing very well, you say. I've discovered that some people think that over 70s are dispensable. Or they think that if we die, there's more chance that they'll be saved. I walk into walls. The edge of the table is nearer than I think it is. I pour, but miss the cup. I miss the bottom step. You call Emma from the living room. I go and look for you in the bathroom. The cats aren't stuck in the cupboard. They're stuck in the loo. I hold banisters. I say to the consultant that just before you guys put me to sleep, you said I had a 50-50 chance of waking up. Was that what we all had on that ward, 50-50? More or less, he says. Yes, in the end, we lost about 42%. The consultant says that the intensive care ward was equipped for 11 patients. At the worst moment in March and April 2020, we had 24. We were supposed to have one nurse with one patient all the time, 24 hours a day. Sometimes we had one nurse running between 3 or 4 patients, and count that as a physiotherapist as well. Some nurses haven't recovered. When the doctor said that I had a 50-50 chance of waking up, I remember thinking, hey, that's not so bad, actually. 50-50 is quite good. And I thought, if I go, At least I won't know I'm going. And I thought of Eddie, that's my son. That's what the doctor said about Eddie. He wouldn't have known he was going. He died of meningococcal septicemia. The doctor said all the membranes of his cells leaking, his insides turning to mush. It all came to me in that one moment. Later, my grown-up sons come over and take the dad for a walk. I don't have a lead. I don't run off. And I don't sniff other dads. When I come out of hospital, I forget the names of Tom Cruise, George Clooney, and Meryl Streep. I have famous Hollywood film stars forgetting syndrome. I discover that the years 2018 to 2020 have disappeared. Our friend Di calls it my blank period. Picasso had his blue period. I have my blank period. People see my red eye. People are kind. They're sorry that someone has punched me in the eye. Sometimes I tell them that it says on the bottle of the eye drops, they stain my eye. Sometimes I don't tell them. The 66-year-old journalist tweets at me, yes, we know you were ill, Michael, but you were 74. But? That but is doing a lot of heavy lifting. What's but about being 74? Are my days less valid than her days? If I'd copped it, would that have been more okay than if she had copped it? When people meet me, they say, you're alive. And I say, are you sure? At the brain hospital, the nurse asks me how often I exercise. I say I try to go for maybe a 30-minute walk 3 times a week. She says it should be 5. The brain surgeon says, do you want to look at your brain? I say, well, I've been trying to look at my brain for years. I'm a writer. He puts up a slide. It looks like you've had altitude sickness, he says. I say, the highest I've been is the 4th floor of the Whittington Hospital. Thoracic signed me off, but the consultant says that the scan shows that I had a thymic cyst. Should I be worried, I say? No. Why is it there, I say? I don't know, she says. And where's it come from, I say? No, it's more like it's never gone away, she says. Oh, okay, I say. How long were you in that coma for, someone asks me. 40 days, I say, about 40 days and 40 nights. It's a bit biblical of me, wasn't it? Mind you, I mean, thinking of Noah and the rain, I mean, I wasn't on a boat, and I'm not actually Jesus. I know he was Jewish and I'm Jewish, but anyway, never mind. But I wasn't on a boat, and there weren't any animals with me, and my name's not Noah either. Then I tried to think of Noah's wife's name. Mrs. Noah? And my wife wasn't with me. I tell children about this. What was Noah's wife's name, I ask. And one girl said, Stephanie. You get used to the body you've got. You know it. You may not have words for it, but you have pictures of bits of it and how the bits move. One bit says, hi, I'm your back. This is how you bend. Hi, I'm your mouth. This is what your teeth feel like. Hi, I'm your legs. This is how you walk. It's your body in your mind. Then a big thing happens and your body changes. You've got a new body bits, and your mind struggles to know it. To start off with, it doesn't want to. You don't want to know your new body. You don't want your new body. What you really want is your new body to go away. Then slowly you start to find out ways to get to know it. You can try not to, though, but it won't make any difference because it'll still be there saying, hi, I'm your new body. It doesn't walk away. It's always with you. You have to get on together. I'm asked to speak at an anaesthetist's conference. I stand up to speak. I say, I'm glad to be here. I think about it. I say, I'm glad to be here in this place with you, but I'm also just glad to be here. You've asked me to speak for an hour about what it was like being in a coma. But one problem, I don't know. I don't know what it was like. You did a great job. Actually, if I did know what it was like being in a coma, you would have done actually a crap job. So that's it, really. Thanks. And then I sat down. I'm not who I was. I try not to be sad about that. Grief is being sorry that things aren't the way they were. Things not being the way they were is grief. Yet nothing is the way it was. Even in grief, we see that we are part of all things becoming different. I said to Emma, the physiotherapist, not my wife, I said to Emma, the physiotherapist at the rehab hospital, that I didn't think that I would be able to do a show to hundreds of children in a theatre again. She said I would. I thought that was nice of her to cheer me up. This year, I do a show for hundreds of children at the Queen Elizabeth Hall. A woman with her kids asked me to sign a book. It's me, she says. It's Emma, the physiotherapist. I will stop there for the moment. Thank you very much for listening. I was going to tell you a little bit. I've done a book for children called Sticky McStick. And it's a tribute to you folks. It's all about how you taught me to walk. So I don't know whether I've got time. How are we doing for time? So you can't see the wonderful, wonderful pictures by Tony Ross. So I'll just read it to you. I was ill. I was so ill I couldn't get up. There we are. I'll just show you. You might be able to see a little bit. We need a visualizer, really, don't we? I was so ill I couldn't get up. One day, 3 people came to my bedside and said, today we're going to get you up. They lifted me up, one on one side, one on the other, one behind. I gasped. I panted. My legs were shaking. I pleaded with them to let me get back into bed. Please let me go back to bed. They let me. The next day, they came to my bedside again and said, we're going to get you up. I gasped and panted. They put a frame in front of me and asked me to hold it. I did. I was still gasping and panting. I held onto the frame. I've missed out the bit where you gave me Ted socks. I hate you. I hate Ted socks. I didn't put that in the book, you'll be pleased to know. They said, see if you can move the frame forwards. I did, just a tiny bit, but I gasped and panted some more, and they put me back to bed. The next day, they said I should see if I could get from the frame to a wheelchair. All 3 of them helped me. We did it. I liked the wheelchair. I wheeled round the room and the corridors. Tony Ross has pictured me knocking down somebody. It's quite brutal. I looked out the window. It was the first time I'd seen outside for 2 months. I saw a man go into his house. I saw cars pass. I saw a woman come out and water her flowers on her balcony. They put me back to bed after that. The next day, they said we were going to the gym. The gym? First on the frame, then in the wheelchair, then off to the gym. At the gym, they said they were going to teach me how to stand up by myself. They said, hands behind, nose over toes. And I did it. The next day, they said they were going to teach me how to walk between parallel bars. They did. The next day, they said they were going to teach me how to play football between the parallel bars. They did, and we played with a balloon, kicking it to and fro. I learned how to walk down the corridor using the frame. After a few days later, they said I had to give up the frame. I had to use a stick. I was scared. I thought I would fall over. I called my stick Sticky McStick. I loved Sticky McStick. He helped me walk. Move the right leg, stick down on the right, move the left leg, stick down on the right, move the left leg, move the right leg, over and over again. Then they said I had to learn how to climb the stairs. No, not the stairs. I was gasping and panting all over again. The stairs were the hardest thing of all. But now I could walk about the corridor with Sticky McStick. One day a man came and said that I was using the stick too much. I had to learn how to walk without a stick. So I tried it. 1 step, then 2 steps, then 3 steps. I was afraid that I would fall over, but I didn't. I thought I would try to walk from my bed to the toilet without Sticky McStick, very, very slowly. I did. I did it. I was very, very proud that I'd done that all by myself. I looked back at Sticky McStick by my bed. I felt sorry that I'd deserted him. Then one day they came to my bed and said that I was going home. I asked if I could take Sticky McStick with me. Yes, that was okay. When I got home, there was my lovely family. Everyone watched to see if I could climb the stairs. I could. They watched to see if I could get to the toilet by myself. I could. They watched to see if I could make a cup of tea. I could. Sticky McStickstick watched me too, but sometimes he played hide and seek. So there's various pictures of Sticky McStickstick hiding under the cat. It was wonderful being home with my family. I practiced walking around the garden. I practiced walking to the shops. I did mini squats and stretches. I can climb the stairs without holding the banister. I can make a cup of tea without leaning on the cupboards. I can walk to the park to meet up with my son, his wife, and my granddaughter. I can do all these things now. Sticky McStickstick sits in the basket by the front door just in case I need him. I often look at him on the way out, thinking of the time when he helped me to learn how to walk. And he reminds me of the kind people who taught me all those things right from the time I couldn't even stand up. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Is there time for a question or two? No, we've got... No.